Hello everybody, Jake, your resident content cowboy here, Yeehaw, and here's everything you need to know about Leafeon before it comes to Pokemon Unite. Let's talk about Leafeon's passive ability really quick. When you're Eevee, you just get some bonus move speed out of combat. Get out of here, Eevee. Chlorophyll is the passive you get once you evolve at level 4, just like all the other Eevees. This move will charge a gauge once you are not hiding in tall grass. Once it's full, you get increased move speed. You also get a boosted attack that deals additional damage and slows enemies, and it does some cool stuff with some of your moves. I'll show you that here in a second. Leafeon's first two moves as Eevee, about as simple as they can be. Your Swift deals damage, it kind of fires out an array in front of you, and your Quick Attack dashes and deals damage. That is about all that's going on until you evolve into Leafeon. I gotta say, the way Swift calculates damage is weird. I think it's based on how many of the Swifts hit, but you can kind of cast it in a way where it sort of one hits and deals weaker damage. It's just weird. I can't tell exactly what's going on with this. Like right there, it did 152. I don't know exactly what's happening with this move. The most damage you can get seems to be not always close, but then sometimes it is, like right here at 811, other times at 456. I don't know exactly what's going on with Swift. I really don't. I obviously try to hit more of the stars, you get a bigger pop of damage, but then sometimes it does a very small amount of damage. Who knows? At level 4, you get your first move, either Razor Leaf or Solar Blade, and then at level 6, you get your second move, either Aerial Ace or Leaf Blade. I think these combos are set up, honestly, intentionally to be one or the other. Razor Leaf and Aerial Ace seem to combo very well together, as well as Solar Blade and Leaf Blade. Let's first talk about Razor Leaf and Aerial Ace. Razor Leaf feels like the natural progression of Swift right there. You throw out your Razor Leafs in a fan like this, and then at some point, they return to you. You also can tell your leaves to come right back if you want. You can throw them a lot quicker and have them return very, very fast. Right now my move cooldowns are off, so that's why I was able to do that fast. But you can throw out your leaves and at any point have them recall to you wherever you are. So this allows you to do some pretty cool things, reposition around your enemies, do tons of damage, and then have your leaves come back to you and hit them again. Some interesting things about Razor Leaf. If you hit with all 5 leaves, which is easiest to do just right next to an enemy, you gain a shield very quickly, and you can get that shield once they all come back to you as well. It's a very slight shield, but inside of combat, it could be very important to have something like this. It lasts for, I don't know, about a second or so, and then it's gone. Something to also notice, when you cast the move and then immediately bring it back, you're going to do less damage than if you cast the move, let it sit there for a second, and then bring it back. So it looks like about a little close to about half the time for the move cast to come back, it lets you get full damage from the return of the Razor Leaf. So casting it very fast, less damage. Casting it and waiting a second, more damage. Pretty basic. Aerial Ace is a dash that deals damage to enemies and also makes your next attack deal increased damage. One interesting thing about Aerial Ace, you do increase damage with your next basic attack after you use it. That's 456 right there. My normal basic attacks deal 351. My boosted attacks, you get the 456 plus an additional 105 right now here at level 7 on my regular boosted attacks. However, if you Aerial Ace into a boosted, you do not get a damage increase. You're still doing the 456 into 105 or whatever for 561 total. So it's something interesting to notice. The combo would actually be setting yourself up to use a boosted attack, then Aerial Ace. That way you could get the most damage out of it. Otherwise, you're kind of wasting the Aerial Ace damage bonus if you use it with a boosted. This is just a long way of saying you would boosted first, then Aerial Ace, which makes a lot of sense because your boosted lets you leap towards enemies. It feels like the real flow of this moveset is to dash in, get your Razor Leaf so you can have a massive shield, fight the enemy, and then dash either in or out so you can hit them once again with that Razor Leaf. Aerial Ace is used for chasing and repositioning inside of these fights. You could set up some really cool stuff if you attack with your Razor Leaf, you're fighting the enemy, you're dashing around, and then boom, you bring your leaves right back to you. This is going to be a really fun skirmisher build. You're going to do a ton of damage, and you're actually going to be able to reposition yourself quite a bit, where you could end up throwing your your leaves and then backing a ways away, unite moving someone and bringing them all the way back for a sneaky KO. The plus version of Razor Leaf gives you an increased shield when you hit with all 5 leaves. Again, you can get that either when they go out or come back. And Aerial Ace Plus just gives you the ability to charge up your stored Aerial Aces faster. You have 2 stored Aerial Aces. Okay, let's start with Solar Blade. There's a lot going on here with Solar Blade. If your chlorophyll gauge is full, you get a maximum damage cast of it that casts instantly, just like that, and your cooldown is reduced because the cooldown of Solar Blade is reduced when you have a full chlorophyll gauge. This combos with Leaf Blade, which we'll talk about here in a moment. So you can see a very, very fast cast time on the Solar Blade. If I cast it again without my chlorophyll gauge full, you can see it has a longer cooldown. However, once my gauge gets full, I get a cooldown reduction on Solar Blade right away. This means that filling up your chlorophyll gauge with this move is amazing, which is why it combos so well with Leaf Blade. Before we move on from Solar Blade, let's take a look at how you charge it right here. You hit the button, you can move yourself around and you can charge it. You can actually cast it right away if you would like inside of that charge animation for reduced damage. So you could just slam down some damage right away. However, you do get a nice big bonus amount of damage if you have a maximum charge or if you let the uncharged version charge to that line right there. Something to notice, you can use your eject button inside of Solar Blade so that you can get increased range on it while you are charging it up to chase enemies. You also can sort of strafe around as you're using it. Now let's talk about Leaf Blade. Leaf Blade deals damage right here. You can see kind of the vortex of damage that you do with Leaf Blade. Enemies in the outside ring of it that are hit by Leaf Blade increase your chlorophyll charge gauge. So you can throw your Solar Blade and then hit with something like this and have your gauge almost back instantly so you can throw another Solar Blade. It's gonna be, honestly, I think kind of busted. The thing that you're gonna have to watch out for in this build is that you don't use Leaf Blade, get all of your chlorophyll charged, and then accidentally boosted attack. It's kind of weird, but imagine you Solar Blade, throw your Leaf Blade, start to get your cooldown back on this move, and then by the time it's back, instead of using your Solar Blade, you use a boosted. Now you don't actually have that fully charged Solar Blade. You're gonna need to be careful not to attack for a half second once you have that full chlorophyll gauge. But man, the charge on this is just, I mean, it's nuts. Look at that. Holy. And it's back again. Jeez. Gonna be crazy. The plus version of this, you receive reduced damage when you were charging. Honestly, I don't think you're even going to be charging Solar Blade that much. However, you can, but you don't need to a ton because you're going to be able to reset it a lot with your Leaf Blade. Your Leaf Blade being on cooldown will really be the only time you are charging this move, but then again, you can kind of charge it up a whole bunch. Right there, you just saw my chlorophyll kind of actually get used by my boosted, and it ruined my ability to get a free Solar Blade. So it's weird, but with this moveset, you're really not going to be using your boosted attacks all too much. Leaf Blade Plus gives you the ability to reduce Leaf Blade's cooldown now when you hit multiple enemies with this outside ring. So it just makes it even easier to do this nutty combo right here because you're going to set up even more situations where both of your moves are up. This combo is going to be wild. It kind of feels like a special attacker, even though these are all based on attack stat. Your Unite move is pretty basic. It is a sure hit. You dash at the enemies, you deal some damage, and then you deal damage again once you land down. You do more damage the closer the enemies are to the area you are landing down on. We're going to actually have to see how easy it is to get out of this. Like once you land on an enemy, if it's easy enough for them to use an eject button, hop out. They are not stunned during this, so theoretically they could hop out of this, or if they were Cinderace, they could faint or something like that. If Shedinja ever comes to the game, they could use something like that. But in general, this feels like a decent Unite move that's mainly used for positioning and just setting up some situations where you can fight your opponents. If you're fighting this, Slowbro right here, and you want to be able to get in, just dash on in, use your Unite move, and you can set up some pretty crazy stuff. For held items, Leafeon does have natural critical hit. If you're playing the Aerial Ace Razor Leaf build, I think it's very reasonable that you could run something like this. You could put a Float Stone in, but the Razor Claw is going to help you set up a lot of amazing moments so you can be in combat fighting even longer. Your other build with Leafeon, you may very well run an Energy Amplifier. We're going to have to see how useful that is with its Unite move timing, but I think an attack weight Float Stone weakness policy, something like this could be very good for Solar Blade. Basically, the idea is the higher your attack stat is, the more damage you're going to be doing with Solar Blade and Leaf Blade. This could be a very good combo for that set. You could still run critical hit on it if you would like, but I think you're going to be spending more time using your moves with this build, so something like this could really benefit you. For boost emblems, I could see you running cooldown attack on a Pokemon like this. This would be 7 black, 4 brown. You get a little extra attack, a little extra HP, a little extra speed, a little extra crit, and most importantly, a little extra cooldown for the build. We'll have to see what its overall cooldown numbers are and if this has any good breakpoints. You also could easily see it running a build like this. 6 brown, 4 white, 2 and 2. You get some HP, you get some attack, and you really don't lose much at all. You also could run a variation of critical hit, probably on the Razor Leaf build here. This is full critical hit. You could also switch this around to have 6 brown, 4 white, different things like that. But if you're really looking to get extra critical hits, you could run something like this. Let me know what moveset you're most excited about in the comments, or if you think there's something big about this Pokemon that everyone needs to know, or how you plan to build it. Love you all very much, and I'll see y'all soon. Yeehaw!